And so we're all getting our goose cooked here. But how much will the population put up with? Because people just 5 years ago would blame a Sarkozy or a Gordon Brown or a George W. Bush or a Barack Obama. Almost no one now, really thinks presidents actually run something. I mean, doesn't the ruling oligarchy have a problem because they're up there running around like robber barons, being pulled around by their white horses in front of everybody?
Well, I like, as I've been saying on your show for a few months now, when I attack the U.S. and I say people should leave the U.S., I always talk about Brazil and Chile. Brazil and Chile are two countries that are really great opportunity for people looking for stable governments and real honest-to-goodness.
Yeah, but can I own a gun to protect myself from kidnapping? I mean, I know pretty soon we're about to be just like Mexico, basically, kidnapping capital. But
yeah, but I mean, certainly there are. But Brazil is an enormous country, and there are cities and towns all over Brazil that are sleepy little towns or marginally active towns that I think offer greater and upside for the average person in the U.S. who's just getting screwed. I mean, their government treats them like dog dirt. Their opportunities have been squeezed out because the banks stole all the money. So there's immigration. Why not be immigration? Historically, how did the founders of America come to America? They immigrated. They left the UK. They got sick of the UK. They got sick of
I tell you, I might move to Brazil if I could have a Barrett 50 cal, but I can't.
Well, okay. But
hey, Max, over there in France.
But in Europe.
Hey, Max, you got a boomstick in there under the pillow? Stay there. I want to talk to you about this and take phone calls. Stay with us.
From the front lines of the information war, it's Alex Jones.
Okay, here's what I'm going to do, because I said I'd get to your phone calls, and some of you have been holding for like 45 minutes. We're going to take your phone calls right now on any subject you want, but I know it was earlier for calls for witnesses about the dead and dying wildlife, and this is a big deal. And then we're going to hold Max Kaiser, who's going to ride shotgun with us, at least 30 minutes into the next hour of Super Overdrive. It's actually just Overdrive. I guess if we went into a fifth hour, it'd be Super Overdrive. Rarely do that. Of course, we did the 27-hour broadcast last year. I think I'll do one of those again this year, maybe two. That was fun. But Max Kaiser is our guest for at least another hour. We will continue with your phone calls and a bunch of news and a key video I'm going to play in the last 30 minutes that's extremely powerful. But I do want to go ahead and get to your calls. And so without further ado, let's talk to Lucretia in Oregon. Thank you for holding. Welcome.
Hey, Alex. Who am I? I'm an info warrior girl.
Well done.
I finally got you on the local radio station, KMED here, after 2 years of working hard on the guy that owns the station. So
that is awesome. I was talking to Lisa Lyon, the producer of Coast to Coast AM, and she heard me on that station. That's where up in her neck of the woods, and she likes the station. She listens to it. We're on several there in Oregon. Tell folks again the call letters and the frequency of the fine station.
KMED 1440, and sadly you're on at night, so he broadcasts you later, 6 to 9 p.m.
Well, it's not sad. We're glad to be on weekdays. Let me tell you.
And you're on live on Sunday, so that's awesome. But yeah, I gave him over 100 of the Obama deceptions to give out.
How is the station liking it? Because we're on so many new AM and FMs, getting 2 or 3 a week that are new, and we're talking about all these hardcore issues, and the stations are loving it. I mean, but again, 10 years ago, it was like I was a 14-headed, goblin. But now people can see what we're covering is reality.
Absolutely. I can see the difference in the callers. They're totally waking up. It's awesome. So, yeah, I'm totally stoked about that. But I wanted to, you asked about the birds, and so I wanted to cover the 4 main points. One is to consider having Lorraine Murray on. She talks about the dramatic increase in earthquakes since HARP was put in. She also, being a whistleblower from Lawrence Livermore, knows about Gordon MacDonald, who, as you recall, was Lyndon B. Johnson's scientific advisor when Ben Livingston was doing all the monsoons. And she says he's a geophysicist that was a part of the technology to set off earthquakes and volcanoes. But I
have Secretary of Defense Cohen in 97. In fact, I've got the quote here in my stack. I'll pull it out if I can find it. I've covered it on Coast to Coast. This is real, and earthquakes are increasing, and they're behaving like they haven't behaved in the several hundred years that the scientists, the seismologists, the volcanologists, and others have been studying it. And I got Secretary of Defense Cohen in Army Times saying that our government and other governments have developed tectonic earthquake weapons, and just like they laughed at us years ago about weather modification, now it's all over the news, and they're not just spraying stuff out of airplanes. They've got these big antenna farms doing it from the U.S. to the Middle East. It's crazy. Let me get Max Kaiser's take on that.
Well, what about the earthquakes that the industry is putting together on purpose? I'm referring to shale fracking, where they're going in and they're fracking the crust of the earth to get a little natural gas. I'm sure that disturbs the earth crust.
And, of course, it's a politically correct term. They don't call it cracking. They call it fracking. I mean, what a joke.
Yeah, exactly. Now, this is just industry fracking and cracking the earth's crust to get a little extra cubic feet of gas to power this industrial monstrosity for a few more months. Just leave the earth's crust alone. You know, stop fracking.
Well, we saw that with the Deepwater Horizon, a record deep well, and I was studying in many areas of the Gulf of Mexico, as deep as they were going is how thick the crust is. They're going into the mantle.
Yeah, well, that's going to disturb the way. You know, that's the point. If you keep, you know how many drill bits there are in the Gulf of Mexico? I was amazed during the BP crisis. There are thousands of these things going in there and screwing around.
Yeah, I think there's 15,000 plus in the Gulf. I mean, if you go out there fishing now, when I was a kid, you go out fishing, you hardly saw rigs. It's now just rigs everywhere. And when it's nighttime, you see even more because now the lights stand out. They're just all over the place. And you think about the butterfly effect or the lensing effect, the megaphone effect. What's the proper term?
Amplification.
Yes, the amplification effect. There you go. Thank you, Max. Of all of this, it's probably untold what it's doing. Lucretia?
Well, that's what I was saying at the beginning of the show. This is a year when Mother Nature finally says, go to hell.
How do we know the globalists aren't launching a lot of these weather attacks themselves and then saying, oh, look at the weather, let us have our carbon taxes, buy Al Gore and other beachfront property because the water's rising?
Well, because you have to have some sensitivity as an earthbound human being to what's happening with Mother Earth. You just listen to your own body and your own soul cry as you watch Earth crumble because it's being fracked to death and polluted to death.
Well, I'll say this. I
I don't doubt that the globalists, who are the globalists? They're corporations. We're talking about the same thing. They're just destroying the resources to get the last penny of resource out because they're crazy. They're suicidal. You know who wrote the best book on this is Dr. Seuss. He wrote a book called The Lorax.
Yeah, and the last Lorax gets cut down, yeah.
Yeah, read Dr. Seuss's The Lorax, and you understand what the current situation is. If you can't understand a Dr. Seuss book, then heaven help you.
Dr. Al-Qaeda Seuss? He criticizes the government. I don't like him. Lucretia, great job. Thanks for helping us get on that station. That's how we're getting on all these great stations. And the stations are having big success with it and reaching more people, and we love it. Rashid in New York, thanks for holding for eons. You're on the air with the one, the only, Max Kaiser.
How you doing, Alex? First-time caller. How you doing, Max?
Mm-hmm.
I just wanted to know what you actually think about the Carlyle Group purchasing a major supplement company called MBTY for $3.2 billion.
Well, I've got a comment. That's an inside operation. They know that supplements, they know that agriculture, metals, commodities, energy is going to be the future as paper currencies and other forms of paper are exposed as being fraud-ridden instruments. But also, this is all about inside baseball. Just like the Obama crime syndicate has given over 500 waivers to select campaign contributors, companies, McDonald's and others, where they don't have to get insurance for their employees. Or if you gave the Democrats, you get to keep your Chevy dealership. This is big city Chicago mafia merged with the Fuhrer precept unitary executive of Bushy. what a monster amalgamation that is. And so you're going to only have select insiders who are allowed in the future under Codex Alimentarius, that, by the way, is in the House and Senate bill. The Food Safety Act admits they selectively get to shut down who they want. That's the essence of insider baseball. Comments on that, on what Rashid's asking there, Max?
Well, we're talking about a food supplement company, and it's part and parcel with this idea of unnatural synthetic food as replacing natural food. You know, as you talk about on your show all the time, they're cracking down on people growing their own food. People are not allowed to, the price of natural organic food is beyond the reach of most people. So a company like this that produces food supplements, the price is going to continue to go up as people are going to be shut out from access to wholesome, whole food. So this is part of that prison mentality. You know, it's basically prison gruel, and this is what they're going to be serving the poor prisoners in the casino gulag.
Yeah, and you're talking about a general spectrum. I don't know about Carlyle, very wicked company, buying the company you mentioned. I've never heard of it. They may just be angel cakes, and so they got bought because they have a good product. I don't know. I'm just generally looking at who financed the food safety bill. It has nothing to do with food safety and is Codex Alimentarius. And for years, we'd fight this. We'd have the official UN documents, Europe trying to pass it, basically where you can't get raw vitamins over the counter. You've got to get them all adulterated and patented and reformulated by Big Pharma. And it's Big Pharma, big, genetic engineering, mixed with the military-industrial complex and the big banks, and it's all just a predatory, weaponized, cancerous takeover paradigm. Rashid, anything else from New York?
Just a prediction for 2011. A lot of the colleges is probably going to close down, in a sense. They're going to close their doors because I guess a lot of people are realizing that there are no jobs here, and degrees are basically worthless.
Well, I mean, unless it's something like being a doctor or an engineer where you've really got to have the technicals, I feel so sorry for folks that go and get, philosophy degrees and things. I mean, I don't know. I know so many engineers that are literally working at Walmart now, but then 17-year-old kids that actually know how to get stuff done on the internet, they're getting paid a lot of money. I mean, it just shows that with the acceleration of knowledge, what colleges are teaching on average is 5-10 years old. I mean, when I went and took RTF, they were literally were teaching me nothing. It was like 50-year-old baloney about the media system. I just went out and found a crack in the media and jammed myself into it, and here we are. Look, shoe leather, ladies and gentlemen, and brains and action and taking action. That's how you get things done. I appreciate your call, Rashid. And yes, the big education bubble, we've been talking about that for years. Max Kaiser, your take on that?
Well, yeah, I think it's an interesting reflection of what's going on in the rest of the economy, because education is becoming a have-nots and have-yachts. So, the price of an Ivy League education is going up, and of course the people who can afford to go to those schools are financed the children of the bankers on Wall Street.
And that's really, and Max, as you know, that's really only about getting in with the in crowd, so that even if you're not from the elite family, maybe you can be a secretary making $1 million a year, and they do on Wall Street, because you dated the captain of the football team at Harvard or Yale. I mean, it's all about being part of the white shoe boys.
Well, and they teach you, in economics, they teach you the neoliberal school of economics, the Chicago school. The Obama, he's a graduate of that school of economics, the Milton Friedman school. And this school, the Ben Bernanke is also a graduate of this school. It teaches you to look at the economy and only see deflation, and your response is always to pump more money.